Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. Today's pick a card reading is all about looking at your self-love, your self-esteem in the healthy, authentic way. What is it to authentically understand your strong points, your skills, your abilities, your personal style, all of that kind of thing in a healthy, self-actualized manner, and also understanding where you may not see what other people see in that space about you, and the sort of bridge between those, so you can synthesize the most holistic view of yourself as a unique, wonderful, brilliant individual. And this is a type of topic that I do fairly regularly on this channel. For people who are familiar, you'll know that. And I often say my reasoning for that is that I think that life tends to narrow down our viewpoint of ourselves, what we think our options are. Probably not consciously for the most part, but it comes from the systems of education, systems of work, systems of general competition in the world, economic systems, political systems, a whole range of things, all kind of conspire, albeit probably unconsciously and just on a complex system sort of basis, to make us tend to really narrow what we see of ourselves, and often to feel that we aren't good enough or we aren't special enough or whatever it might be. So I try and do with these readings the balance of that and the opposite of that. Really start to call out what is wonderful in you, and what, if you really start to embrace that, you can self-actualize more. Because I think in general that self-actualized people with a healthy, authentic self-love, are kinder, more generous, and more open to diversity and all of those sort of things. If we could get enough people like that in the world, we could actually shift this unconscious narrowing that I'm talking about. It would create a different system. That's my mission, my goal, my hope for the world. So that's why I do these sorts of readings. So today what we're going to focus in on is that we're going to look at what you do know and love in yourself, even if you sort of feel a bit shy about loving it, but you kind of know that it's there. What other people see and think is wonderful in you. And then we're going to look at a bit of a bridge. This is how we're going to start between the two, about what can take you to synthesize that. Is it dealing with some shadow or doubt? Is it maximizing some of your skills? Is it recognizing the connection between the two, whatever it might be? Then we'll drill into much more practical detail on those two issues. What is working for you now, or possibly not working for you? What is the kind of situation right now? And then how do you synthesize the view of others that people have of you that is positive with the view that you have yourself, so that you can truly become who you are? Then we're going to look at what's epic in you in various ways, and finish off with some affirmations and some astro chakra synthesis of the whole story. So that's the journey we're going to go on, and hopefully it will be enjoyable. As always, it's important to pick the right reading or readings. By all means, go to more than one. There may be a range of areas that come across a couple of readings or more, so that's up to you. I'll put down the numbers as I always do, for those that just like to see and pick by the numbers. But I'm using different tarot packs per reading for the different energies that they bring to hopefully help with the choice. And I've chosen the Ace of Cups from each of the tarot packs because I think that's about love and potential and all the sort of things in terms of self-esteem, self-love, self-actualization we're talking about, and getting to the heart of who we are. So pile 1 is the Somnia Tarot, pile 2 is the Dark Mansions Tarot, pile 3 is the Dream Vision Tarot, and pile 4 is the Ancient Revival Tarot. So pause the video if you need to, do whatever you need to do to work out what reading or readings that you want to go to. When you know, the timestamps are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome pile 1 to your reading. So these cards here are the areas that you do recognize you are special. You can have authentic self-love, self-actualization, even if you haven't fully walked into it and owned it, because it will depend upon the people coming to this reading how much you really feel that you've inculcated this into your life, and how much you kind of know it underneath but you're still a little bit shy about it. And this is what other people see, and we are going to then look at some cards, as I said, between the two, to see whether there's either shadow or action that can synthesize these more, so that you get the more holistic sense, both what you know within yourself and also what others see. And I do feel with this too, looking at the cards just as they came out, that there may be not necessarily a dissonance and not necessarily that others are wrong, but I think this is such a different focus in many ways. There's some similarities in these cards, but this is such a different focus in many ways that it's almost like it's not so much that you wouldn't necessarily know this, it just wouldn't occur to you that this would be something that somebody would see or that you would be pursuing. Because over here, with what you see of yourself, your currently self-actualized self, you're highly spiritual, probably very psychic, pick up things from the universe and so forth. And you have, to some degree, because of that, with the waning crescent, said, I will let the universe do what it's doing. I understand the cycles. I believe I'm here for a purpose. I believe that will make itself known to me. And you believe it will make it known to you by being open to the exploration of yourself and the world that you're in, and then processing it intellectually, because we have two air signs here. Libra, which wants balance and justice. Aquarius, that wants the kind of manifestation on the world stage or on a kind of community level or on a transpersonal level of the psychic downloads, etc., that you're getting, and that sense of exploration. So I do think that people who've come to pile 1, if you're at the right reading, you are very spiritual, you are also very intellectual, and these two things come together, and to you, life is an exploration. And part of your self-actualization and self-love comes from the fact that you're very introspective. You explore both the world and the universe spiritually, but you also explore internally for getting a balance. And as I say, the kind of air elements you will accept that you are good at something, you will accept that you excel, you will accept that you are blessed in some way, you will accept that you have a gift if you can intellectually see it. If you see the facts, you think you're being balanced. You are not the sort of person who's ever going to run off and be an egotist, to be honest, because you wouldn't allow yourself to. You hold yourself under very strict regulation. You understand that in the universe there is room for diversity, there is room for all of us to be wonderful in our different ways. And the last thing you would ever want to do is overblow it. So if anything, you hold yourself in a very strict intellectual regulation, and it feels like you can say, yes, I can believe this about myself because I've seen it proved, I have the facts, I've assessed it on a very, very sort of objective level. You are a very objective person. This is why it's interesting what's going on over here, which I'll get to in a minute. So you see life as an exploration, you see self-belief and self-development as an exploration. You definitely see yourself connected to the divine, to the all, in whatever form your spirituality takes. And because of that, you're happy, in a sense, to do that wherever you are. You're not the sort of person who has to have $1 million in your bank account to feel that you're a success. It'd be nice if you had $1 million in your bank account, but that's not the thing that's driving you. A kind of intellectual rigor and spiritual rigor drives you, and you, as a result, you've developed that very well. You're likely to be someone who's very academic if you want to be, and if not, you're probably a lifelong learner. You may well have social justice sort of principles and community principles that connect back to your spiritual being. So you know this about yourself. You know that if you say something about yourself, it's going to be right, that it's going to be balanced, that it's not going to be egotistical. You understand your skills. You know you're very, very smart. You know that in your field you excel because of that, because you put the intellectual energy into it. But it feels a little bit detached. It's like you could do this, sitting in your room on the computer, never sort of seeing people, and still feel that you were doing what you were meant to do, or you could do it in a crowd, articulating it on a podium. It's sort of the environment doesn't matter to you as much unless it actually helps you explore things. It's more an internal introspective process, and you're very comfortable with that. So people wouldn't rattle you very easily. But the interesting thing is over here, people definitely, what they see that is similar is that they actually see you as a pioneer. So you think of yourself as sort of this person who lets go and lets God, has a spiritual connection, is really looking for the exploration to understand yourself and others better. Other people see this as something that's more revolutionary, that actually can bring in the new. So don't underestimate how much people look to your strategic and mental ability and your capacity to analyze and synthesize information as something that helps them go on a journey. They definitely see that. So they kind of want to follow you. That there's an element where you could be a leader. But the other thing that people are saying that I don't think you pay a lot of attention to is that many people see you as a bit of a romantic hero, chemistry, that you come across as very attractive to people. I think because you're so in your head, you're not necessarily thinking about, well, you're literally not thinking about the sort of romantic side of things, but people see what is exciting and different and unique about you as also being highly romantic. And a lot of people would probably get intellectual crushes on you at the very least, and possibly more. But you're not seeing it. You don't necessarily see yourself as attractive in that way. Or you haven't allowed yourself to see yourself. It's something you're almost a bit in opposition to. And a lot of this is around your friendship circle and the networks you're in with the 11th house. A lot of the people on the broader sort of networks, and some of them might be through the sort of the internet and so forth because of kind of the Aquarian influence, see you as someone to aspire to, someone to fall for, somebody that they feel they have a real connection with. But because you are a little bit in your head, there is maybe a disconnect operating here. People want, and that's why we have the opposition here. It's almost like if you looked at that side of things, you feel like it somehow could take you off the straight and narrow of being very objective, being very scientific, being very structured, being very intellectual. But people over there are thinking, well, you know what, this is someone I could fall in love with. So, and some of that comes potentially also, I'm getting that for some of you, because of library here, they see when there is opposition or fighting within social groups or whatever, that you could be someone who brings the balance as well. So they also see that. So if they're not busy falling in love with you, they're wanting you to resolve opposition, differences, bring inclusive sort of energy and new energy to social networks that are maybe more bifurcated and in battle with each other. So I think what this is really saying is that you underestimate your romantic appeal, and that could be fine, but don't lose that because it's definitely there. But understand how much, what is very much a personal exploration of the truth in yourself is a prototype for other people to help with something that is better and more balanced in their lives and that pioneers a new way of being. So let's have a look with these cards. What are the kind of elements of the bridge? And as I say, these are cards that I've particularly taken from decks that look at both light and dark, so light and shadow, so that we can get a sense about is the disconnect, any disconnect between this because of shadow elements that you need to process, or is it just there are actions that you need to take and so forth. So, okay, we have the Good Geisha, Carousel Fairy, and Elizabeth Delon. Well, there's the leadership, that's for sure. Using the sort of prototype of Elizabeth I, one of the greatest leaders the world has ever seen. That's there. There's something like that for you about leadership, definitely. Now, what's interesting is I think here, the Good Geisha is all about you've worked out the system and you don't want to play the system anymore. So this may be part of the bridge between the two. This could be that you have learned enough about yourself and the systems that you're in to understand what is false around you and to reject what is false around you, and both spiritually and intellectually. And that almost is the bridge that takes you from being the explorer, looking at it, analysing it, into the pioneer, creating something new. So there's definitely something here where you will take what you know and learn into leadership, into designing something new, being a bit of a rebel, being prepared to do it. And I think one of the reasons that you can is this sort of spiritual background where I say it's sort of let go and let God. The Carousel Fairy says what comes around goes around. You have a sense of the cycles of life. And I think you also may have recently seen something in your exploration that you think is unfair or unjust. And that's going to really affect you on a level that it wouldn't affect a lot of other people. A lot of other people could maybe turn away, go, it's just the system. You're not that sort of person. You're too committed to something that has a higher order of ethics and responsibility. So I think there's something, this is saying that the thing that will bridge you and make you really understand how other people see you and how much bigger your potential is that you will see something that you don't agree with and you will say, okay, we need a new system, we need a new way of doing things. And that's when the leadership kicks in with Elizabeth and the Lion. It's time to become a great leader. So I think the one thing though to watch for when you do this is with this romantic sort of energy, you need to really sort out how you might come across in that way and how you balance it. because I do think you're going to get sort of fans and followers and so forth out of this. I think that all the rest of it helps to sort of deal with social issues and balance and equity and becoming a pioneer. That's all quite natural. It's a natural evolution. But this is the wild card for you because you're not really thinking about it. And so it could be something wonderful if it's someone who you meet and you fall in love with as well. But I think that Spirit's put this here to say, don't forget that side of you because other people aren't forgetting that side of you, pile one. Okay, so let's have a look with tarot. Let's get in a little bit more detail because that's sort of high level. So we're firstly going to see, what is either really working very well with your self-esteem or possibly where are there blocks and why is that? And then, as I say, we're going to look at how to synthesize what other people see and admire in you, in what you actually can accept and admire in yourself. So firstly, what's working either well or blocks so that Spirit can give you a little bit more practical advice. Okay, so I think this is pretty clear. Certainly what is working well is your intellect, your capacity to negotiate, change, shift, rise to the surface, things that are not true intellectually, all of that sort of thing. Your mind is first rate. People see that. You know that. You know that you'd be a brilliant lawyer, a brilliant philosopher, a brilliant lecturer at university, anything like that. And in organisations, a CEO, that kind of thing. There is a real chance, as I say, for great leadership there, coming from a really strong, robust intellectual understanding of things and a capacity to make fair judgments and to make decisions quickly because your mind works very quickly. So that's working very well. But Spirit is saying that you are kind of your own worst critic with the Queen of Swords here. So you are objective, but you're harsher on yourself than other people would be, and it is in the realm of love and passion. So I think this is definitely saying that for most of the people who've come here, you underestimate your beauty, your attractiveness to others, all of that sort of thing. It fits with Elizabeth in a way. If you think about it, Elizabeth historically did not ever marry, and she said she was married to England rather than to any particular man. So there is a sense here of maybe that you sublimate some kind of maybe insecurity that you shouldn't have because other people do think you're very attractive, but there's insecurity that you might have around that because you feel very secure in this intellectual, smart, strategic, move forward leadership role. So Spirit is saying that if you critique your area there, you're actually dimming some of your light, which is significant. You're not seeing the opportunities that are there. And I think Spirit just wants to say, don't underestimate that. Don't think, this may have come from, falling for someone and it didn't work out and thinking, oh, well, I'm good. This all works here. I'll just focus on what I'm good at. And we all do that. So there's a self-protection mechanism. But for some of you, it's also you're on such a mission that you're not even seeing that side of things. So I think that Spirit just wants to say that don't underestimate that side of you too. It will actually bring love into your life, that kind of self-love that also accepts that you are lovable as well as someone that people would admire, respect and follow. Okay, so let's ask for a little bit of advice about how to synthesize this for you better, which I think is going to come down to the emotional side of things, but we'll see what Spirit wants to say. Okay, so you know how I said I thought that some of you could do all this leadership from behind a keyboard? I think some of you that could be very true because Spirit is saying here, if you're going to own some of this and synthesize the true pioneering spirit and also the lovability that is inherent to you, you do need to come out from behind the shadows a bit. And you also need that for the leadership because there's a point at which being the brilliant strategist, this is almost actually like the strategic mind behind the throne, so a Machiavelli, for instance, moving into being the leader. And the person behind the scenes, that the kingmaker rather than the king, can always stay behind the scenes. But to move into this leadership role, you have to come a little bit more out into the world. And some of that is also looking at your relationships with others. And there's a little bit of unlearning to do with this. You've got used to patterns and you feel comfortable with it. You're academically comfortable, whatever it might be. So with the 8 of coins reverse and the 7 of coins reverse, Spirit is saying that to really maximize this shift and to be fully who you could be, you've got to unlearn a bit of what you've seen of the material world and of what you value on that level. There's a different way of doing things. And you can resolve conflict and take the emotional energy out of things. So understanding that bit of it and taking it out into the world rather than just introspective and understanding it in yourself. You actually have a very, very good sense of psychology. So taking that information and taking it out into the world is actually the way to synthesize it. But it's almost as though in the process of building this, you've got lots of academic frameworks, you've got lots of different ways of doing things, and so forth. And it's almost like unlearn some of that because you're a natural pioneer. You're actually meant to do something a bit different. So for instance, if you were someone who had learned coaching and mentoring, because this energy could be very good for that, it might be that you almost need to throw out the rule book. Once you've actually worked out how to do it, you need to almost have your own pioneering way of doing it that takes in maybe some of the spiritual side of things and what you know of yourself and so forth. There's something new. There's something to unlearn. And also it may be unlearning patterns of whether you felt you were attractive. If you were really good at school and university, for instance, but you didn't, you were a bit, awkward or, hadn't sort of grown into your full beauty or whatever it might be when you were young, you just might need to set that particular view of yourself aside. I'm actually getting for some of you, literally, if you're, say, in your 30s or 40s, say, and it's probably not quite the same case if you're younger, but if you're in around that age, go and have a look at photos of yourself when you were young, because I think you're going to find photos that you saw when you were young that you thought, oh, I don't like the way my nose looks or whatever. You're going to see how beautiful you are because you've got enough distance from it. It's like when you're young, I think it's true of everybody, we feel awkward, we don't feel as attractive as we are. But later on, when you look back, you can see it. And it's not that you've lost that, it's starting to own that and knowing that that's part of who you are, because I do think there's a little bit of a disconnect for you, pile 1. Okay, so let's have a look at what can make you epic. So there are different decks I'm going to use that have different elements. So we're going to start with the Mythic Oracle, because that will give a sense of your personal presence, something that is mythic about you that Spirit wants you to know and own for your self-love. Okay, and we have, and I'm not going to be able to pronounce this properly, I don't think, but Mnemosyne, inspiration. So yes, you're highly inspirational. This is the thing. You are a leader. It isn't all introspective. You're highly inspirational. You're the pioneer, and people really find you attractive. And on a broader level than just what you have to say, though what you have to say, you're very articulate, very much able to present yourself, but you're an inspiration to other people. This is the point. This is why you see yourself as exploring. Other people see you as a pioneer, someone to follow, someone who is bringing people to the new world. Okay, let's have a look at Celtic wisdom for some spiritual epicness of you, pile 1. Okay, we have Oak, doorway, strength, journey. Yes, you have the strength, the spiritual strength to walk through these doorways. You probably actually walk through dimensions and all that sort of stuff. You probably astral travel really well, all that kind of thing, because you are very spiritually dialed in. But you represent to other people the strength to try the new and to go on the journey. That's why people will follow you. Okay, and speaking of the journey, we're going to look at a Norse mythology deck to have a look at the adventurous and sort of expressive side of you and what makes you epic. Pile 1. And we have the rune Berkano. And I think this is pointing a bit to this, because this is about rebirth, growth, fertility, the goddess, the feminine energy, all that sort of stuff. Don't underestimate how much people see you as a emotional growth area, an area that they're drawn to, an area where the chemistry is there, an area where romantic dreams could be held. There's something very fertile about what you bring that is also on an emotional level very nourishing. So your journey and your self-expression needs to include that, pile 1. Lastly, we're going to get a card from an ancient Egyptian oracle for your wisdom, the epicness of your wisdom, which is considerable, I have to say. And yes, what a surprise. We got Mart, cosmic justice. There's something, I do think many of you, a lot of this energy in your career and so forth will be about justice in some way. As I say, it could be lawyers. You don't have to be. You could just have social justice. You could be looking after the balance of things and the form of things in some way. But you are very much a just person. People know that you walk the talk. People know that you hold yourself in strict regulation. And so I think Mart is a perfect indication of the wisdom that you have. And if you think about Mart, she could weigh a soul's sort of like heft, either for good or bad, even with a feather within, you know, her scale. So you have a very finely tuned understanding about what is right and wrong. Very finely tuned. And it's transpersonal enough with Aquarius. It's not just within yourself. It's not just you projecting yourself. It really is balanced. And that's part of what makes you epic, pile 1. So to finish off, we're just going to have a couple of affirmations, and then we'll use the Astro Chakra cards for 3 last pieces of information about how to build your authentic self-love. So the affirmations are, you are safe wherever you go in life, and it's bigger and closer than you imagine. Okay, so you are safe wherever you go in life. You are. That's how you can be the explorer and the pioneer. You know that, I think. You know this about yourself. But possibly, I think this is more you. You're bigger than you think and closer to others than you imagine. I think if we just slightly nuance those wordings, I think we get to the message of this reading. And then let's get 3 last cards from the Astro Chakra deck for you, pile 1. Spirituality, surprise, surprise. Intuition and spirituality, yeah. You are first and foremost this mystic, this sort of person who's connected. That's why what you're doing intellectually actually works. It's not just a kind of a mental game where you could convince yourself of something and therefore convince and manipulate others. It comes from a very pure place. To have 2 in the crown chakra is like having Mercury and the moon conjunct. So you need to communicate your emotions more. I actually think more is the word there. This is what picks up some of this emotional stuff, because it will actually make your messaging on what you've sort of already owned within yourself even stronger. And it will build your wisdom to connect more with others, with the 6th chakra, the 3rd eye, which is telepathic and all that kind of thing. That builds your wisdom with Jupiter. It helps your search. What this is really saying is that you have explored within in great and intricate and exquisite detail. It is time to explore more without, and then to become the leader that you're meant to be. So pile 1, you're a fairly impressive person, I think, and I think you just need to understand the breadth of that and how other people see you, and you will find that your self-love and your self-esteem and your self-actualization is just part of the natural journey for you. So I hope that you enjoyed the reading, pile 1. I hope that resonated for you. If so, please like the video and subscribe. And if you care to share about it in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 2, to your reading. These cards here are a kind of an amalgam of what you do recognize in yourself and hopefully love and appreciate in yourself, or at least have a kind of an inkling of, even if you've sort of not taken the leap to really fully love yourself and self-actualize with it. These cards are what other people see and love in you that you may or may not really realize yet. And we're going to use some other cards to look at what's the bridge to synthesize the two, so that you fully actualize all that you have to actualize and become the true self-actualized, self-esteem, self-loving, full individual that you can be. So looking at the energy of what you do know, there's a great deal of wisdom. You know that you come from a space of wisdom. If you're into spiritual sort of things, which you may well be with Sagittarius, you probably have a sense of past lives, or at least of having spiritual, religious, or something like that underpinnings to what you look at in your life. So if you're not sort of someone who believes in past lives, as I say, you could be someone who comes from a Christian tradition or an Islam tradition or something like that, where you know that there is a spiritual backbone to who you are, and that you are following a path, and that you are doing it with wisdom. And that's interesting and helpful, I think, because your real focus and how you build your self-esteem and your self-love at the moment is working out how to present yourself to the world, to be the architect of your own self. It's like you see a spiritual tradition or a spiritual heritage, or even, like ancestral heritage that's around you, And you have realized that you have the capacity with the Gemini thing here, which can like wear different faces. And I don't mean that you're two-faced at all, but wear different faces, be a different part when necessary, present yourself as you need to, be the architect of who you are, and have a flexibility. So you're likely to be someone, whether it's in your workplace or whether it's, you know, in your study or around your friends or whatever, who can be a bit fluid when necessary, can fit the environment that you're in. So you can feel comfortable doing that. But there is a little bit of a sense of maybe part of your self-actualization journey is to marry that fluidity with the sense of spiritual stability, to truly make yourself that architect. I get the sense of this, that you're very, very good at it, and you know that you're good at it, but it almost makes you doubt yourself in a way, like, who am I really? That's the feeling I'm getting from this. It's, if you're that good at appearing to be whatever you need to appear to be, how do you know who you are? And I think this is the connection to the wisdom. It's there. It is there. The bedrock of who you are is there. And part of it is to be flexible, to meet the needs of the communication and so forth of the environments that you're in. And that is actually a skill to own, not to feel a little bit like, does that make me sort of a shadow person or something? I just feel a little bit of an energy of doubt coming from that, like knowing you can do this, be a chameleon, but what does it mean to be a chameleon? But remember that you also have this very strong spiritual background, and the architect on a spiritual level fits a lot with alchemy and that sort of thing, the concept of the architecture of the universe. Understanding yourself psychologically within is almost like understanding the architecture of the universe. And on a spiritual level, the same thing. When we think about all the planets or the signs in astrology, or we think about the angels, you know, in the various traditions, they are also psychological aspects of ourselves. So there is a side of you that gets that, knows that, and it's part of the reason why you can read a room, be what you need to be, and so forth. So you do love the fact that you can do it, but I do get a sense of you're at the moment on a search to be who you really are, and you maybe are looking for some cues around that. The interesting thing is that other people do not see this kind of underlying self-doubt. They see someone who is a high achiever, who is destined probably to be a leader or to be a business person at the very least, to do very well in the world. They can see how you can fit in with environments and to have the ambition. They do see you as someone who in fact is very good at self-promotion, and there is a degree to which that's true, and there's nothing wrong with being good at self-promotion. They see that you can do that. They see, but they think that you have the goods as well. So they're not seeing you, if you are feeling like, oh, you know, am I putting on the mask of this, you know, fake it till you make it type of concept, that's not what's going on, and other people see that. They know it's not. They see you as the alchemist. They see you as someone who can take all the wisdom and knowledge that you have and turn it into something, create something out of it. And it's interesting with Virgo too. Some of you, and the achiever, with the achiever looking like they're working out, some of you may be very good at sort of health regimes or work in the health industry or the science industry or something like that. That will be a bit specific, but it's possible. But other people see you as someone on the fast track. They see you as someone who is destined to do very well in the material world, because you know who you are and you can present that out there. So it's an interesting thing, because I think on one level they're 100% right, and on another level they're missing the little bit of insecurity that's there. But you would probably think, well, it's good, I don't want them to see the insecurity. It's better they see that, because that helps me move forward, and I get to that. If you do the fake it till you make it, eventually you make it, and then you're not faking it anymore. I remember a good friend of mine saying to me years and years and years ago, when I was just starting out work and I was quite shy, she said, just pretend you're not, and eventually you won't be anymore. And to some degree that was true. I mean, I still have some shyness, but I know in a bit like this how to fit in with an environment more and feel more comfortable in most environments than I did then. So there's nothing wrong with that. That skill is actually really useful. And people see kind of the projection that you would probably want to show to the world. Okay, so let's have a look at the bridge between it. So this could pick up elements of shadow that are part of this insecurity I feel a little bit here, or it could be how you go from this capacity to understand yourself to then really present yourself as the achiever that you want to be. So it could be either light or shadow. All these different decks, and I've got 3 cards, one from each of the decks, pick up both light and shadow. So I thought it was a good bridge between the two. So we've got Maven of Masks. That's interesting. Masks. We've got I Am Kali. Ooh, okay. and the Mermaid of Immersion. Okay. So the Maven of Masks turns up when you've realised certain masks, certain things are no longer true. So I think you're going through this process at the moment. I think what you're going to realise that the flexibility is true of you and there's nothing wrong with it, but that there are certain environments that you've sort of looked to fit into that are no longer right for you. So I think you're going through a process of sorting out in the architecture of your life where you're going to put your energy, where you would want to achieve, having been able to almost dip your toe into a number of different rivers to see which one is right for you. So there's definitely an energy to get to this of actually dropping the sense. Like it's almost like you've got a little bit of imposter syndrome, but it's actually not true and other people can see it's not true. It's because you're so clever at this capacity to be flexible that there's a part of you that wonders, is there enough underneath it? And this is saying yes. And it's in fact, once you let go of everything that isn't working with I am Carly. So as I say, if you've tried out a number of different things and you found, well, I can do all of them, but like there's only one that I really enjoy doing, that's the one that's going to take you there. Then you get the Mermaid of Immersion, which is about complete commitment. So once you've decided what isn't you, you peel away what isn't you, even though you can move in those environments when you need to, but you peel away your focus from what isn't you and you focus on what is you, then you start to really actualize what other people see in you, this great achiever, this great business person, this great leader, whatever it might be. Okay. So let's get Tarot to get a little bit more information on this. So we're firstly going to start with a little bit more detail on what is either working for you or blocking you at the moment in terms of your self-love and self-actualization. And then we're going to ask the cards about how to better synthesize these to get all that is good out of both what you love already in yourself or can see already in yourself and what other people love and see in you. So firstly, for the collective of Pile 2 Spirit, can we please get a little bit more information about what is or isn't working in their self-actualization and self-love journey? Okay. Don't worry that these are all reversed. It actually makes a lot of sense with what this other stuff is saying, and I think it's ultimately very positive. This is picking up the star reverse. This is the insecurity I was feeling. I feel that you are putting a shadow on your ability to be flexible. You're questioning almost the ethics of it. And I suspect it's because there are other people in your environment who can do it to some degree too, who aren't ethical, but you really do have the spiritual and ethical basis for this. So you don't have to be so hard on yourself about it. But there's something about the environment that you've been in where power, I think, has been misused, and that is making you question yourself. It's literally like you were Machiavelli and you decided whether or not being Machiavelli was what you wanted. Like maybe you really wanted to be an authentic leader, and Machiavelli could have potentially done that. So it's sort of like moving beyond the theoretic into actually committing to something, committing to what you really want to do. So it's, you have all the ability to understand the environment you're in and to wear whatever mask you need, but you can shed those. Once you've realised that the reason you feel uneasy is that you think, what do I have in common with some of these people? And the reality is you don't have things in common with the people who are not using power and information correctly. You're too wise for that. But you have to re-engage with your heart, not just with the game, and you have to free yourself from the mental sort of energy that you are doubting yourself, this doubt energy. But this is saying you can do it, and this is saying by reconnecting with your wisdom and your heart and understanding this sense of disturbance in the matrix for you is because you know you're not really that, and you don't want to be that, and you don't want to be associated with that. It's like, I often say there's that saying that the person who's best suited to be the president of the United States is the person who doesn't want to. It's kind of like you are playing in some sort of political, work, social area where there is a little bit of duplicity and there is a little bit of game playing, and you're quite capable of doing that if you need to, but you're only doing it because you need to. You actually want to be more authentic. And that's what people are picking up. That's why they see you as an achiever and the real deal. They don't think that you're an imposter because you're not, but there's a lot of imposters around you. Okay, so let's ask how to synthesize this a bit to move you more from this self-doubt that I think is you're taking a skill you have and you're putting a shadow on it that you in fact don't do and that other people don't see you doing. That's why they see you as the real deal. So let's see how to synthesize this a bit better. Okay, so Spirit's saying a few things here. They're saying definitely connect to the wisdom, like do not let go of that. That wisdom is going to be the thing that is the light that steers you to being the alchemist, to being the achiever in the way that you want and you can feel comfortable with and you can feel committed to and proud of. But there is some reconsidering of the resource or material things around you. This is very much a classic thing where somebody is, maybe in an organization has realized that they can survive, they can swim with the sharks, but they really aren't a shark and they don't want to be a shark. They want to be more authentic. So there may be kind of a reassessment about material aspects of your life and what matters to you. It's not really the game. Just because you're really good at the game doesn't mean that's what really matters to you. And if you stay stuck in just playing the game, you won't get to what people really see as your potential. It might be leaving a workplace, finding somewhere else obviously first because you've got to pay the bills, but it might be moving on. If you're not in a workplace, if it's around study and things like that, it might be taking a different perspective about what's the material outcome of the study that you want. Because you can, within sort of academic institutions, for instance, you can write and say what you need to say to get the marks that you need. And if you kind of put that in a box and you go, that's what I'm doing for the moment, then I will actually do in my real life what I really want to do. That takes you to understanding what you don't want to do as part of the journey of deciding what you do want to do. There is some emotional issue to resolve. So maybe some of you felt that your flexibility in the way that you presented yourself has cost you emotionally in some way. So Spirit is saying have a look at that, think about that. People aren't really seeing that about you. This is a bit hidden if that's the case. People are seeing you more as an achiever, a leader, a business person, that kind of thing, or someone who's likely to be something like that, like someone who's going to be on the fast track. So it's not really in the realm of what other people are seeing, but there's something here about emotion. So it could be that something that's triggered this sort of like insecurity might have been an emotional issue. So you need to process that and use the energy of Kali to let that go. And if that means you need to go a little bit slower and stay in the conventional of what you're doing at the moment till you've sorted that through, Spirit says that's fine. You need to be at the point where you really can own the alchemist within you and know who you are before you step into the potential that other people see with you. And there might be a little bit of heart healing that needs to occur looking at those two cards now together in the reading. Okay, so let's have a look at some areas about you that are epic. So we're going to start firstly with a mythic oracle and look at your sort of persona and your sort of way that you present yourself, your mythos, what's epic in that. And then we'll use 3 other different decks for different aspects of the mythic you, the epic you, pile 2. So firstly, we have Chiron, healing. Okay, this may be that some of this energy and the wisdom that you need to draw on is to heal something in your heart. But you have an epic ability to do that. You really do. You have the knowledge and the wisdom to do that. So I think this is picking up something. This is why I'm seeing the insecurity. You also can heal and help others. You could be an amazing sort of coach and mentor and so forth. People see you as someone who can fix up situations, naturally lead, the real deal, as I keep saying, and the alchemist, the person who, and so some of you it may be in sort of scientific or health or something like that. As I said before, some of you that might be where your career is going. But in either case, you more than have the ability to heal whatever this is. And part of that, I think, is because you understand that you can be flexible and adapt. So we're going to ask a Celtic oracle for some spiritual epicness of you, pile 2. And we've got Seridan, transformation, knowledge and magic. Okay, so see, the thing about your flexibility, Spirit is reminding you, is it also allows you to transform. It allows you to take on what you need, learn what you need, transform, and to become who you are. There is magic in that. This is the sage. This is the kind of almost wizard energy that you have. and you have the knowledge to do it. You're very smart. You know how to work the system. You know how to transform. You know how to reach your potential. Don't ever doubt that you are not an imposter, pile 2. If you feel like you are, it's you've seen it around you, and that's not who you are. Okay, so let's then have a look at with the Viking Oracle about your sense of adventure and self-expression and what's epic about that. We have Thor, the god of thunder. There's a lot of energy for you. There is a lot of heft to what you do spiritually in the world. This is why people see you as the real deal. There is a lot of innate power in you. Just because, so this almost feels a bit like Loki or Mercury or something, the capacity to sort of be whatever you need to be. That's not all of who you are. The sage, you know, the Thor energy, the transformative energy, this is more who you are. That's why people see it. You've just got hung up on one ability and put a lot of eggs in that basket, but you're much more than that. There's much more energy for transformation and change with you. So let's look with an ancient Egyptian deck about your wisdom. So what wisdom, you know, makes you epic. And again, with the sage, this will be significant, I would think. Okay, and we've got Imset, an air spirit. So the way you think, a Gemini, see, the way you think is not sort of like trivializing you or only encapsulating you. It's the thing that's meant to set you free. It's the thing that's meant to make you fly. So don't underestimate or devalue that. Don't underestimate or devalue your intellectual understanding of the situation you're in. There is more to you than all of that, but it is the thing that will help you express and move into your full potential. Okay, so to finish off, we're just going to use some affirmations and then the Astro Chakra deck just to bring it together for you. So firstly, a couple of affirmations for pile 2 on their journey to full, authentic self-love. What you want is coming to you in divine timing. This is interesting. Act as if what you do makes a difference. It does. So firstly, all of the things that you are trying to look for and create in yourself will come, and you have a sense of that. You have the transformative energy. But act as if you do what you do makes a difference. It does. So maybe that's the clue. If you feel like you're wearing a mask all the time in a tricky environment and you can act in that environment, then act about what you can do that can make a difference, because that, or your great ability with this, will actually start to make the difference and will start to actualize this. Okay, so let's finish off with 3 Astro Chakra cards just to bring the energy together for you, pile 2. Creativity, so the sacral chakra, the solar plexus chakra, your personal power, and then communication, you know, it goes back to Gemini, your throat chakra. So creativity has Uranus in it. It is important for you to create yourself and be an individual. And it's almost like wearing these masks is to help you work out what is true to you and what isn't, not to be untrue. That's a kind of switching that around. This is creating yourself. This is being the alchemist and so forth. This is the architect energy that you know that you have, turning it into really who you would be. Then that brings you into some of your own personal power with the solar plexus, and Mercury is there, so communication is important. You can then really start to express your self-esteem because you've created who you are and understood your environment, and that then takes you to the communication chakra, the throat chakra, with Uranus again. So your originality and your individuality is seen. So other people see it. They see you, as I say, all the time. I just get real deal, real deal. You over here are feeling like, am I just sort of good at appearing to be something? No, that's not true. You're in the process of transforming and creating yourself so that you can communicate that, so that people will then see you as a leader and someone to aspire to. So pile 2, I hope that resonates for you. I hope that it was helpful and you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. And if you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome pile 3 to your reading. So these cards here represent things that you do realize about yourself, even if you are shy to admit it, that create self-love, self-actualization, self-belief and so forth. These are the things that other people see and love in you and admire in you that you maybe don't see yet, or you see to some degree but you haven't fully owned yet, so that we can sort of see the synthesis of the two to get the more holistic picture. And that as I laid these cards out, like the first thing I got with Night, Earth, Libra and Pisces, so was, things like the Grail Knights, the Fisher King, and then the Seeker here, sort of a spiritual thing. So I think there's a very strong side of you that is about seeking the right, seeking the just, looking after others, making the earth a better place, connecting psychically and spiritually with people, seeking that, like seeking the grail. Like there's such a strong Arthurian feeling about this. You don't have to be sort of someone coming from Celtic times or anything, or in a past life, but there is just that sense of, there is a higher purpose. You are committed to that higher purpose. It is about why you are here on this earth. You are very, very sensitive, but you're also very, very smart and balanced. And you are here to make a difference, to seek that which is better, to heal the land. Like this is, it has such an Arthurian feeling. I get it's coming over me in waves. I'm sort of seeing all those Arthurian movies, and I say, anything from Gawain or whatever, looking for the Grail, or the Fisher King and so forth. There's that feeling about you. And a little bit of Don Quixote as well. It's sort of like following the impossible dream, that kind of thing. But not to say that it's impossible, but there is a higher purpose to you, and you understand that, and you do see that in yourself, and you do know that in yourself. I think it makes you a little bit, it's not about me, it's about everybody else. And that's fine to some degree, but there is more to you again, and this is what the whole purpose of this reading, that other people see, that you perhaps don't see. And it's got something to do, I think, with moving from what you're seeking to where you might find the answer. I think understanding how other people see you helps you find the grail, quite literally. Because over here, you move from the seeker to the ancestor, there is something about your cultural heritage. That's not saying you don't have to have an Arthurian Celtic cultural heritage. Some of you might, but there's something about your cultural heritage that helps connect this seeking that you have. And it's possible that you haven't thought that. Maybe you even thought you were born in a family or in a heritage that doesn't feel right to you, that doesn't feel like your past lives, whatever that might be. That's possible. So there's something there about connecting to ancestral connections, cultural connections and so forth, that people see you as belonging to and being really, really key to, because you are such a creator, you're such a visionary. They see this quest that's within you, this fire that's within you, this passion that's within you for the betterment of the earth, for the betterment of life for people, as being something connecting to a cultural heritage that allows you to create and be a visionary and communicate how to bring things together, how to heal wounds, heal the land. Like, so I keep hearing all this Arthurian stuff. So it may well be that, many people who come here do have a real strong sense of that kind of time, the Mist of Avalon books, any of that kind of thing. But this is about the Knight's Quest. This is about the Grail Quest in whatever culture you come from. And others see you as being very connected to that, very much someone who can, as I say, heal rifts in the ancestral line, heal ancestral karma, because you are a visionary and a creator and a great communicator. But you sort of feel it's like this very internal sort of, I'm going to seek the right. Other people see you as being far more on the stage of being able to heal the group, heal the collective, heal the ancestral line, whatever it might be. So don't underestimate your purpose in being here, I think, is what these cards are saying. So there are 3 cards also that were under the tarot card that led you to this reading, and they are 3 different decks that have both light and dark aspects. I wanted them to act as a bridge to see whether the thing that is maybe having you not see this to the same degree as other people see it is either a shadow or a doubt, or whether there's a process or a light to be shone to actually connect these. Because I actually think for you it's very, very important. I mean, to some degree in all this, we always have choice. You can stay in a situation here where you feel fine, but I do feel that there's something about your quest that makes it very important that you really understand how big it could be. So let's see what the cards are. Dark Harlequin, a twist in the tail, and a clockwork pumpkin. Okay, so Dark Harlequin is when you have understood and seen the shadow. So you have seen, I think you've seen, this is why you're on the quest. It's not so much a shadow in you, I don't think, except for maybe, like seeing yourself as smaller than you actually are. But the Dark Harlequin has understood that sort of thing and is ready to sort of move forward and go into the unknown, because you know underneath that you can find your way through. So again, you can be on the quest. It is giving you the permission and the encouragement to go on the quest to be more. A clockwork pumpkin is a wonderful idea or an aha moment. And when we have a twist in the tail, the unexpected, this it suggests to me that you may sort of kind of know that you could go on this quest, but it's more like something's going to happen that will really take it up a notch. So maybe someone's going to recognize you from your sort of ancestral line and go, you know what, let's do something together. Let's collaborate, because you bring all this wisdom and knowledge. We can actually find this together, potentially your creativity and your vision. I can help you communicate it with what you're trying to do. Something like that might occur. Or it could be just anything. It could be anything random that actually gives you that epiphany that makes you understand, oh, okay, that's what it's about. It could even literally be watching this video, to be frank. It could be thinking, oh, I've kind of always felt I was on the quest for something that was better and to protect the earth, but I've never really understood where I could do that. And it's got something to do with my culture and my ancestry and karmic connections, and I know I could do it in a creative and visionary way and externalize it and communicate it. It could even be that. This literal reading could be the twist in the tail, that you realizing you're bigger than you thought you were. And having that aha moment so that you have then the courage to move forward. But as I say, otherwise it's maybe just something that's going to come along, something that's going to happen. So there's not really shadow here, except a little bit of fear of, am I up to it? But other people certainly can see that you are, and you will make the right connections to do it. Okay, so let's use the tarot. And let's first ask what is either working for you in your journey towards true self-actualization and true self-love, and also what might be blocked, so that we get a little bit more information on that. Then we're going to look at how to synthesize these two a bit better. Okay. There's another knight. You are such a knight. You are such a Grail knight. Absolutely. And you will move very fast on your steed when you start to move towards your destiny or your capacity to really heal something, create something, bring energies and elements together and so forth. What Spirit is saying is that there is a bigger stage for you with the world. And it's like you are also, I think Spirit is also saying, is you're coming close to the completion of what you can do with an internal understanding of what matters to you, of your beliefs, of your spiritual practice, of how you've made that manifest within your own life. That's coming to a close to take you to a quest, effectively, to take you to this higher level. So it's going to happen. Something is going to happen in your life that will trigger this next level. What Spirit says is that it'll go quite fast when that's the case, but you're ready for it. The two things that you need to do to make this shift is you have to gather your courage together, believe in yourself. It's very important because other people will believe in you, and you need to kind of meet that level of belief. And to some extent, unlearn certain things. I think that many of you, as I said, might have been almost born into a family where that particular way of looking at things was different to you. So you've had a quest for something more, but you haven't felt at home with it. And so you haven't thought about ancestral lines, but maybe it's ancestral lines from a spiritual connection from a past life, in which case it's finding your tribe, finding your people. That might require you to unlearn something a bit, or unlearn the limitations you put on yourself. It's like maybe a knight can eventually become a king, it's not it, but to do it, you need to follow the quest first and complete the quest. What happens when you find the Holy Grail and the earth is healed? What happens at that point? There's some unlearning, I think, that has, what you've learned has actually limited how you viewed yourself and limited your courage. When you let that go and you take on who you are, there's no stopping you, pile of 3. Okay, so let's have a look at how to synthesize this a bit better. Let's ask Spirit's advice for a bit more about how to synthesize this. Okay, so firstly, with the 10 of Cups reversed, I think there's definitely, Spirit is saying that for many of the people who've come here, there is something about family and relationships before that was not that connection, that was not fulfilling your heart mission, your soul mission, and so forth. And finding and dedicating yourself to something that will help. There is some issue around authority that needs to be shifted for you. I mean, it could well be finding the right authority, the right group to work with, letting go of that which has not worked and not been part of your heart, and moving towards the power and energy around that, and eventually taking up your own leadership. I'm getting that. I'm also getting, interestingly enough, because I've been talking about Arthurian, but the other thing I get when I look at that for some reason is samurai sort of honor codes. It's like finding the right person that you connect to, the person that you bond with, that helps you take this to a new level, because it's like you're doing it in service. You need to be in service to people. That's who you are. So you need to find that way. If you're going to do it on a larger scale, there has to be the right cause, the right leader, the right group, and the right collaborators. And then you have the cause for celebration. But definitely really understanding with the Queen of Wands and strength here, how strong you are, how brightly you shine, how perfect you are for this mission. That's one of the things. It's like you have limited yourself in a way that is not, given the hugeness of your heart, and the hugeness of your potential mission in the world, owning that more, finding the right people to connect with, letting go of the energies that haven't worked, and finding the right regime, the right leader, the right collaborators, whatever it might be. As I say, that's all that's really necessary to go from here to here, or to really, it's not really going from one to the other, it's merging the two. Okay, so let's have a look at some things to tell you about how epic you are, so that you really start to think in these ways. So there's 4 different decks with 4 different sort of spiritual traditions or so forth to draw from, one of which is Celtic, which will be very interesting for you given this Grail Knight sense I have. But I've just chosen them to look at different aspects of you that are epic. So the first one is a mythic tarot, so linking to sort of Greek and Roman mythology, and it's to look at your sort of epic persona, the sort of the mythos of you, what is epic about you on that level. Artemis, purity. Yeah, you're pure. See, this is the thing. This is so powerful, I've got to say. I feel this really strongly. In the Arthurian legend with, I think it was Gawain from memory, but correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, the one that was actually able to go and get the Grail was the one that was pure of heart. There is something really pure about your heart, which will, when you find the right people, powerfully connect you to your mission. You are very pure about what you're doing, and it's epic, and people can see it. They see it as creativity and vision, and they see it as connectedness, and they see it as having a loyalty to a purpose and a group and a culture and all this sort of stuff. But ultimately what it really is a purity of heart, and being smart enough. Artemis was pretty damn smart to be able to focus her energy and go in the right direction. Okay, so then let's use the Celtic Oracle for what Celtic energy is around you, pile 3. Tree spirit, strength, growth and stability. I think that is basically saying that there are roots here. You think of a tree, it has roots in the earth, the ancestral roots, the cultural roots, and that helps give you this strength. That kind of real sense of connection gives you that strength. Sorry, I just pause that for a second in case you heard that drilling noise. Hopefully it's gone away. If it happens again, I'll pause it again rather than have you be subjected to that. But yes, the tree spirit, I think, is connecting you to the roots of your ancestry, of your culture, all of that kind of thing. And I think, again, for a lot of you, it's saying there's a Celtic connection here, whether it's literally in your ancestry now, or I'm going to stop it again for a second. I think it's okay now. I'm not sure if you're hearing that, but it just could be disturbing if you are. I think this is saying that this is a connection potentially for many of you to that culture, to the Celtic culture, whether it's literally that for you in this life or whether it was from past lives. Okay, so then we're going to have a look at the Norse Oracle. So this is for your sense of adventure and exploration. What is epic about you in relation to that? And we have the rune Gebo. So this is about partnership, union and so forth. There's going to be something epic about some sort of connection that you make, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a connection on some other level, a partnership in terms of business or in terms of the quest. There is something about that is going to be epic, and it brings you a gift. It may in fact even be the unexpected thing, somebody who comes into your life in the near future that shifts your focus and makes you see how much more you could be. All right, so let's also look at how you can be epic in terms of wisdom using an ancient Egypt oracle, because it's always good to have wisdom to bring to all of this. And we have Horus, slow victory. So Horus ultimately was victorious and very, very powerful, but it took time and it was a long journey. And look, that also fits with the sort of sense of the Grail quest. This is not something that can be done quickly, because it is something that really gets to the earth, to the roots and the ancestry and all of that kind of thing. And it probably does require the right connections and so forth for you as well too. But you understand taking time is okay. You have a lot of momentum once you get going, but you have the sustenance and the capacity and the resilience really to go through and just keep on keeping on. Okay, so pile 3, we're going to finish off with a couple of affirmations and then Astro Chakra cards just to bring it all together for you. So this is just affirmations for pile 3 spirit around them going on this Grail quest. That's what I'm going to call it, because that's what I'm getting for this in terms of their self-love and self-actualization. Growing means taking little steps. Action is power. Yes, it will take a while. You're already a long way there. You have every reason to have self-love and self-actualization, but there's just a bigger quest for you, pile 3. And the next one is let your past guide you, not decide for you. So when you make these connections to the right ancestral energy, or even when you've thought about how you've been on this quest already, let it be a guidance, but it's not the full light. The light is your purity, your Artemis energy, I think. Pile 3. So we're just going to finish off with 3 Astro Chakra cards just to bring this together for you. We've got the Sacral Chakra, the Heart Chakra. That doesn't surprise me. You're all heart, and the Solar Plexus, your personal power. So creativity. This is the creator. People are right about you. There's something very creative, and there may well be something creative in how you express and communicate this vision and this quest and so forth, and that brings about change with Uranus. There's something about your quest, as I say, that heals. It's healing you, but it's healing others as well, and it's bringing change. It's bringing more balance into things because it comes from your heart chakra, and you communicate heartfelt things, and it gives you self-acceptance. You know, if you are on your quest, you are doing the highest order thing that you can do. So the communication of your caring in your heart is very important. That brings you to your personal power, gives you the passion and the energy of Mars. It takes you forward. I think there may even be a little bit of a hint to the taking steps here, because I think it's like understanding the change that you want and coming to the self-acceptance of the purity of what you can do may take some time, step by step. But once you've actually got to that, then with Mars, we get the Chariot energy. You move forward into Emperor energy with leadership. So you're my Grail Knights. You're the people who are here to make a difference on a very profound, pure level. And once you really understand that and you really sort of inculcate that into your life, that is going to be so powerful and so healing, not only to you, but to others. So I hope that resonates for you, pile 3. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. And if you care to share about it, I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to hear from my Grail Knights in the comments. And beyond that, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 4, to your reading. These cards here are to show the aspects of you that you already have at least some self-love, some self-acceptance, some self-actualization, understanding of that you can own, even if you feel a bit shy about them. And then these are aspects that other people see that possibly you don't see, or you kind of think could be there, but you haven't yet fully taken on and believed about yourself. And then we're going to get to some cards that kind of are a bridge between it to see whether there are blocks or a roadway to connect the two so that you become more fully who you are. So you know that you have a fiery, dramatic, exciting persona. That many of you may work in something that has to do with, performance, presentation, acting, drama, any of those sort of things, or you may have a huge amount of charisma to be an advocate for particular sorts of causes and so forth. Certainly you are using that charisma, that ability, that creativity, that being able to be confident, to be center stage, to debate an issue, to take things forward, to make money for yourself, to and it's something that you own. It's something that you know. You're not shy in that sense. You could be shy underneath, often performers are, but you're able to get up on whatever stage works for you, and you really command presence, command attention. People see you. You're able to deal with conflict as well. This is the advocate and so forth. So for some of you, this charisma, this fire, this passion, this drive, you use in areas to win debates, to take causes through and so forth. Some of it could be quite political about the possessions and values within a community. But for others, it's just that you can take on a battle. You're not afraid of a battle. You're not afraid of the hard work. You're not afraid of pitching yourself and developing yourself and taking yourself forward. You are a very good advocate also of yourself, in the sense of you can promote yourself. And I mean this in a very positive way. There's nothing facile about this. You really do have the charisma. You really have the goods, the capacity to do it and bring something into being. So you know that your presence alone and your dramatic ability or creative ability or whatever, even if you sometimes have reversals or, things can get difficult sometimes, that you can advocate what you need to move forward. So there's a lot in your self-love that is understanding your presence in the world, which is great. But what you may not fully see is that while you are in the potential battle and advocating for your presence, your position, what you value and so forth, other people see you as highly innovative and a kind of a icon of freedom in a way, because we have the gypsy soul here in water. You're all about the kind of, or you feel comfortable in the display, in the performance, but people see a great depth to you emotionally and a sense of like a freedom that you're not going to be held down. You can move environments if you need, you can be whoever you need, you can innovate, you can change. And with the full moon and the waxing crescent here, you do it over and over. People see you bringing in a harvest of something. So the second house working here with whatever you have advocated for, battled for, performed for, and then setting your intentions for the next thing. People don't think that you are captured by any particular activity that you do. It's more that you do it for the sheer love of it, the passion of it, the joy of it, and so forth. But you do it because you love doing it, and it will bring you a harvest, but then you can let it go. It's like you could write a novel and then leave it on the shelf because the next idea is the thing that really matters to you. Or you could win a race, and then that's in the past now. What we now want to do is win the next race and so forth. So they see you as a free spirit moving forward, always changing, always innovating, both yourself and other things, coming from a great, as I say, emotional depth, not being chained to the past. And that fiery advocacy, that they see it as someone who takes things forward. So you probably see yourself at the moment as being able to win any debate that you need to win, being able to present yourself in a way that brings you what you value, being centre stage, being the person who can advocate and so forth. But you're probably not seeing to what degree people see you as a constant positive work in progress and a bit of an icon of what it might be to have enough self-esteem, and I mean that in the best possible way. I don't think that anybody sees you as arrogant. They see you as quite deep and really being able to bring the goods, but having enough self-esteem to not be tied to the outcome, but more to the journey and to the innovation. So let's have a look and see what cards were also under the tarot deck. This is 3 different decks that have light and shadow type aspects. So I wanted to see if there's any blocks or any particular things that catapult you into fully understanding the breadth of this as well too. So we have the Duke of Shadows, that's interesting. We have Dried Flower Fairy, which is about memories. And we have Artemis of the Forest, independent and free. Okay. So I think what this is saying, I'll get to this in a minute, but I think what this is saying is that in actual fact you are a little bit more connected to past achievements and what you've done. That's part of where you get your sense of self from, is what you have achieved. It's it's like the scrapbook of accolades or whatever, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you are actually at least sentimental about the past issues, or it's something that helps you get up each day and go into the battle and so forth. Other people don't see that, but I don't think that's a problem. It's just they don't see it because they see the impact of you on the world, which is this Artemis, being free, being able to keep moving on. So I don't think it's so much that they're right and you're wrong here. I think it's that they're probably a little bit wrong in that they don't know how much you do actually carry your past and you understand it. But they're also right in the sense that it doesn't hold you back, that you still remain free. Duke of Shadows is an interesting card for the two of these, because this comes up when you know you're in a situation and you're not sure what's going on. So I feel like the people who come to this reading at the moment, if this is resonating, it's like you are almost at the point of the full moon and moving into the waxing crescent in the way that people would see it. But you have intuited something, probably with what they're right, your emotional heart, that is like there's something different about what's coming next. And that ultimately could be incredibly good and really trigger the innovator. But the Duke of Shadows is where, you know what, take a little bit of time. Wait and see. And I think what this is saying, when you combine it with these two, is see as more information comes up, what do you recognize from the past, patterns that you can use, and what is new that you can actually use as an engine to move forward. But you don't have enough information yet to fully set your intentions. You're kind of caught in the square here, not because you couldn't take on the advocacy in the battle, but because you don't have enough information yet. So there's something at the moment which a particular project, a particular relationship, whatever it might be, where you don't have enough information to be able to balance what you take from the past and what you innovate into the future. Okay, very interesting energy. So we're going to use the tarot, and we're going to firstly ask what is working or not working in your self-actualization, self-love, in relation to these two types of ways of understanding who you are. Then we're going to ask how to synthesize these a bit better so that you have the benefit of both. So firstly, what is or isn't working for you? Excuse me. So the interesting thing here is, I don't think there's much that isn't working for you. I just think, as I say, at the time that you've come to this reading with the Duke of Shadows there, it suggests that you're kind of having to cool your jets a bit and just work out before going into your next thing. But you look really well balanced with this, because here we have your capacity to deal with conflict and keep it fairly minor with the Five of Swords, to take on the square, to be the advocate, to have the wonderful presentation, to have the strong values. Brings a lot of emotional happiness for you and potentially quite a lot of money. You could well make a lot of money out of this ability if you're a great performer, or a great advocate, a great political person, whatever it might be. So that's working very well for you. You actually know this quite strongly, and I think that's why it was such a strong presence here, and it's working fine. And your capacity on the other side over here to not just stay with something just because you've been with it before. The Knight of Pentacles reversed is where you can let go of something when it's no longer working. And the Fool being the capacity to go out, innovate and do something new. It's like a process. You actually do, whether you're aware of it or not, do both of these things. You build yourself, your values, your possessions, your place in life and so forth, your beliefs in a way that is sustainable. But then you work out what to leave behind to bring in the new, which is what other people see. So most people see over here the full thing. You may not fully see the fact that you're doing that and how much you've evolved, but you are doing it anyway. So Spirit isn't that worried about you being able to, it's really just realizing this side of you, not that you have to sort of somehow connect to it. So given that, we're still going to ask for any advice about synthesizing it. So it might be more about really realizing who you are, because you are more than you think you are, but you're closer to understanding who you are, I think, than some of the other readings in this set of readings. So let's see what Spirit says in terms of advice. Okay, getting something very specific for some of you, and this may be the thing that you don't know. There may be a bit of a legal issue around you at the moment with justice here. There could be sort of needing to get a better foundation about the material impacts of something. So it could be that for some of you, whatever you're doing here, you're about to sign a contract. You don't yet have fully enough information about what you get for what you give. So it's quite specific, but it came through quite strongly. So for some of you, really understanding this capacity to be free and walk away if the deal is not right, and that's what I'm getting for this, is important to remember. You can do that. Don't feel trapped by it. Make sure that it has the right balance. And you might worry a bit about this, but you'll come out of the worry once you actually work out, is it a reciprocal? Are you getting what you should get from it? Advocate for yourself. Actually, what I'm getting is that you're extremely good at advocating for others and for a cause. There is a bit here also about advocating for yourself. And like, it's almost as though, don't walk away too quickly, because it might be that you think, oh, that's just not right, and walk away, but you don't have enough information here. Part of being able to advocate for yourself and truly take on this independence is to make sure that it's not a knee-jerk reaction. If something isn't immediately what I want, I walk away, because there could be situations where in fact you can negotiate what you want, but you just need to get a bit more information. So that's fairly specific, but it also does fit with the overall pattern here. Even if it isn't a contract right now, there's something like that. For other sort of broader things here, Spirit is saying not to worry that much about this, that you are closer to this than many others. This is not a cause for concern. It's really just a journey. You've got the foundations that you need. You'll find the right people when you need them, but not to feel trapped and obligated. It should be something that is natural and mutually beneficial, not something that you get obligations. You are meant to have freedom. You are meant to be a bit of a gypsy soul. Doesn't mean you can't have relationships. Doesn't mean you can't go into contractual arrangements, but you need to understand that you need that flexibility and the capacity to move on in one way or another. Okay, so now we're going to have a look at different aspects using different sort of spiritual bases with 4 different decks for what is epic about you, for your self-love. So we're going to start firstly with a mythic oracle. So for what's epic in your persona that people see and that you could own and live into. Oh, and we've got Dionysus, freedom. Freedom and enjoying life, the fiery, passionate energy and the freedom. You are a very free soul, but you're a free soul who knows when you need to make commitments sometimes and make them for whatever period of time they need to be made. But you are definitely someone who can't be tied down illegitimately. So people really see that. They see it probably a little bit more than you do, because you kind of see it as an outgrowth of fighting for a cause and making sure your values are seen and that you are personally seen. But for other people, it's like you become a bit of an icon of what it is to be free. Okay, let's have a look at Celtic mythology for spiritual epicness in you, pile 4. We have the white stag, shape-shifting, support, otherworld. Yeah, this is you being able to move between realms, move between lives, move between projects. You, on a spiritual level, you sort of connect to that sense of there are other dimensions, other things to do, other things to explore, and so forth. Then we're going to look at Norse mythology for your sense of adventure, which would be pretty significant, I'd say, with these. But let's just see what card we get from the Viking Oracle. The 9 worlds. So again, moving between worlds. This is actually picking up something else. It's saying that, because this has been very much about your personal presence and your capacity to innovate and move on, but these two are picking up that there's a strong spiritual aspect to you. You are able to move between the dimensions. This is part of the reason. This is part of the reason why there's that gypsy soul. You couldn't help it, because you do move between dimensions, realities, and so forth. Lucid dream, astral travel, any of those sort of things you would be very good at. And so your sense of adventure comes from that sense that there is much more in this vast universe and multiverse or whatever than what you've just immediately got before you. So given that you're doing all this traveling on that level, you need some wisdom. So let's look at what is epically wisdom based for you, looking at ancient Egyptian mythology. Okay, and then we get Damotep, the earth spirit. So you need to ground as well. And I think basically this is why we've seen so many pentacles. You are able to do that, but that is where you need the extra information. Because you are so able to move between dimensions, you're a free spirit, you are a work in progress, you're comfortable with that, all of those sorts of things. You do need something to ground you, information to ground you and so forth, because otherwise you could have all this wonderful flair but never fully achieve everything that you could achieve. It's like, it's not just about the battle, it's also about the outcome. You need both the harvest and then the new, the harvest and then the new. That's why an earth spirit around you grounds you with wisdom to make the decisions about when to continue with something, when to move on. Okay, so pile 4, we're going to finish off with a couple of affirmations for you around your self-love, and then with some Astro Chakra cards just to bring it all together. So growing means taking little steps, action is power. That came up for another reading, so some of you may have come to 2. So again, that's the earth spirit. You could, with all this fiery energy and this gypsy soul, rush off really fast, but growth is a little bit slower than that, and that's also make sure you have the information before you make decisions. Okay, and don't squeeze a dream too tightly, it must breathe to live. So that is your freedom side. It may say that there's still kind of the battle is a little bit more what you do, and maybe sometimes you hold on and don't let go and take on the new thing as quickly as you could. So, or you give up, as I say, when you think it's not working. So sometimes it's worth really checking if there is a way to make it work. Don't think it has to be a particular way, but be flexible in how you get to your goal. Okay. And so we're going to finish off, as I say, with Astro Chakra cards, just to bring it all together for you. Spirituality. So yes, you are spiritual. This was not coming up right at the beginning to the same degree, but Spirit is making sure to show that that's part of the reason that you have this dynamic personality. The heart chakra, so connecting to the heart, connecting to the water, what really matters to you. And again, another sort of psychic one, intuition. So in the 7th chakra, the crown chakra, we have Mercury communication. This is about contemplation, thinking about who it is that you want to be. You're very good at presenting yourself, but it's like really understanding the full process of that will help you. And slowing down sometimes a little bit to do that, to reconnect with your heart, because that connects you to Uranus, your individuality. So it reconnects you to you and then to others. And then using the 3rd eye chakra, so your telepathic connection to others, you connect to the moon energy and intuition. This is what people see in you. They see you as a psychic. They see you as someone who has depths. You see yourself as maybe presenting as flash and excitement and everything, but people do see the depths. They're connecting because your psychic channels are very open and people can connect with that, and don't be afraid of that. That will help you get some of the information that will ground some of this for you. So pile 4, I hope that resonated for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. And if you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.